Hello, I'm Shauna Longhorn with the League of Women Voters. Along with the League and SFGovTV, I'm here to discuss Proposition F, a ballot measure that will be before the voters on Tuesday, November 3rd.
The city collects taxes from San Francisco businesses, including the payroll expense tax, the gross receipts tax, the administrative office tax, the annual business registration fee, the child care tax, and the homelessness tax. The child care and homelessness taxes have been challenged in court, and the money collected through these taxes has not been spent by the city. State law limits the amount of revenue, including tax revenue, the city can spend each year. State law authorizes San Francisco voters to approve increases to this limit to last for 4 years. Proposition F would change certain taxes the city collects from San Francisco businesses, including eliminate the payroll expense tax, increase the gross receipts tax rate in phases, expand the small business exemption, and eliminate the credit for businesses that pay a similar tax elsewhere, increase the administrative office tax rate in phases, and change the business registration fee. Proposition F would further increase the city's business taxes if the city loses either of the child care tax or homelessness tax lawsuits, but it would exclude money collected from these increases when determining baseline funding. Proposition F would also increase the city's spending limit for 4 years. If you vote yes, you want to overhaul San Francisco's business tax structure. If you vote no, you do not want to make these changes.
I'm here with Jennifer Brooks with Mission Neighborhood Centers and a proponent of the measure. We're also joined by Starchild with the Libertarian Party of San Francisco and an opponent of the measure. Thank you both for being here. We're going to start with some opening statements, and we will begin with Starchild.
Yes. Hello, this is Starchild with the Libertarian Party of San Francisco. We believe that tax on businesses, adding that right now is just absolutely the wrong time. There's so many businesses suffering under the lockdowns. I mean, I live in Castro, and just walking around, it seems like every other storefront is closed and boarded up. The measure, furthermore, is so confusing. It's like 125 pages long, and reading through it, I couldn't even tell on my own what it was going to do. So I'm substantially relying on the controller's statement, which says it's going to be nearly $100 million tax increase. So, you know, that is, I think it's egregious whenever they pass measures that are so complicated that an average person reading them, even someone who's somewhat familiar with reading these kinds of measures, can't really tell what's going on. And I would be happy to hear the proponent spell out exactly what the different aspects of this measure are and exactly how they're going to affect everybody. But from what we can tell, it's a huge tax increase, and just coming at a time when businesses are already super struggling in this city, and it's just not needed. Getting rid of the payroll tax would be terrific, but you know, this is a net tax increase, which means a net greater burden, worsening the business climate in San Francisco. I don't think this is something that anyone was clamoring for, and we think people should vote no.
Thank you, Starchild. We'll move to Jennifer.
Thank you. Mission Neighborhood Centers has been a community anchor in the Mission District for more than 60 years. And it's really from that vantage point that I've seen firsthand the impact of the coronavirus pandemic that it has had on San Francisco families. And that impact is why I feel very strongly that we must pass Proposition F. At this moment, San Francisco is facing 3 distinct crises that have come out of the pandemic. The first is job loss. More than 500,000 small businesses across the Bay Area have shuttered their doors since the pandemic began. Second is that parents can't go back to work, and children are missing out on really critical early learning because the child care sector is operating at half its capacity because of the public health need for social distancing. And third, our local government is potentially facing a $1.5 billion budget shortfall over the next 3 years. Proposition F is a critical part of the solution to address all three of these major challenges. First, it will help small businesses in sectors that are hard hit by the pandemic, and it will help them to stay afloat. So these are businesses like storefront retail, like restaurants, hotels, and recreation. Second, it will unlock more than $400 million of voter-approved childcare funding that is currently tied up because of litigation. Third, it will contribute $156 million towards balancing our city budget. And finally, it will create more than 2,000 jobs over the next 2 years. At the same time that Proposition F addresses our immediate needs, it also solves some long-standing issues that have become even more apparent because of the pandemic. Specifically, the need to modernize our antiquated tax system for businesses and make it more equitable.
Thank you.
Second,
sorry to cut you off, but we'll have to wrap up there because we're going to move into questions. So as you mentioned, Jennifer, and the first question will go to you. San Francisco is potentially facing a budget shortfall of approximately $1.5 billion due to the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. This amendment is part of an attempt to address this deficit. Why do you believe it's the right way to do so?
So there are a couple of reasons. First, because it helps small businesses, and they are the ones that are facing the critical need of tax relief right now. What this measure does is it rebalances who's paying the business taxes. It is not a new tax. It is overall the same net amount of taxes. It just it ensures that small businesses get relief and that bigger sector, particularly the information sector, pays its fair share.
Starchild, same question to you, except why do you believe this is not the right way to address the potential deficit?
Well, it's not revenue neutral. You don't help small businesses by taxing them more. You know, the people running city government, they always tend to portray these things as a choice between, you know, well, we have a budget shortfall, so we either have to cut services that you want or raise your taxes, but they never look at the third option, which is to cut their own budgets. You know, there's thousands of people in city government who are making six-figure salaries, and I think they could tighten their belts. Frankly, it's not too much to ask at a time when so many other businesses, people have lost their jobs or lost their businesses entirely, had to close. I don't think there's any, I don't see any evidence here that this is going to create more than 2,000 jobs. It just sounds like pie in the sky speculation. Taxing the information sector, I mean, that's what's, you know, largely been driving the San Francisco economy in recent years as a tech economy. I mean, there's real risk of, you know, losing tech, the goose that laid the golden egg, tech being driven out of town if they continue unfriendly policies towards them.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to go to the next question, and we'll start with Starchild. The question is, San Francisco's childcare and homelessness taxes have been challenged in court, and the money that has been collected through these taxes has not been spent by the city. If passed, this amendment will unlock, I read, approximately $700 million in untapped funds for these programs, even though those court cases are still pending. Can you please explain why you do or don't support this action?
Well, we don't believe that those taxes should have been passed in the first place. I mean, I'm not sure the exact status of the court cases, but you know, I think there's legitimate questions there about the measure having been written illegally, and that should be allowed to finish its winding its way through the courts, and the government should not be rewarded for doing things illegally. There was a number of cities and places where they did not follow the law in applying new language as far as how measures, you know, are presented in the ballot handbook, and in some cases we're presenting them in a biased manner, and some people called them on that, and you know, it shouldn't just sweep that under the rug and allow them to take this money and keep imposing the tax going forward. It's good to have childcare, but if people don't even have jobs to go to, they're not gonna need childcare, and they're gonna kill jobs and kill businesses by raising taxes. There's no reason this couldn't have been written in a way that was revenue neutral. I don't think the proponent can guarantee that taxes and businesses won't be going up.
Thank you, Sergeant. Sorry to interrupt you. We need to move to Jennifer. Same question.
Thanks. First, a rebuttal. For small businesses, it would actually lower their tax burden and provide them critical relief. It would replace the payroll tax with a gross receipts tax and increase the number of small businesses that are exempt, and it would also reduce business registration fees. Now, on to why childcare. Early care and education that is high quality is demonstrated to be a more effective anti-poverty strategy than any other on children, on parents, and even their grandparents. We need to increase and continue our investment in this essential service. We need to be able to shore up the programs that are at the brink of collapse at this critical moment, and we need to invest in Proposition F.
Thank you, Jennifer. So at this point, we're going to move into the closing comments, and we'll start with Starchild.
Yeah, again, the bottom line is that this is a major, almost $100 million a year estimated tax increase per the controller. And the measure is 125 pages long, very confusing about exactly what its effects are going to be. And again, confusing legislation tends to have a disproportionately bad impact on small businesses because they don't have armies of lawyers working for them to figure this stuff out. It's again, going after the wrong target. It's going after businesses in the voluntary sector rather than the coercive sector that is government funded by coercive taxation to cut their budgets. The Board of Supervisors, for example, making six-figure salaries that could be returned to what it was not that many years ago, under $100,000 a year. I think $99,000 a year is enough for people in city government. They don't need to be paid six figures at public expense. This is the wrong measure if they want more funding for childcare or again, reducing the payroll tax would be great, but there's no need to impose greater taxes that are going to unfavorably affect the business climate at a time when businesses are really already struggling. I have not heard a good reason why this particular measure is the one, why they could not have made another measure that doesn't raise taxes overall.
Thank you. Closing statement from Jennifer, please.
Thank you. So San Francisco was already facing a crisis in housing and homelessness and childcare and education, an unbalanced tax system that overburdened small businesses even before the pandemic. And COVID-19 has only exacerbated each of those challenges. It is a complicated measure, and I've done my homework. Proposition F is the lifeline that small businesses, vulnerable parents and children, our local economy need at this unprecedented moment. Proposition F will address our immediate needs while also solving long-standing problems that have become even more apparent because of the pandemic. Struggling businesses need tax relief, parents need childcare, and children need early learning. Our city needs the revenue to continue to provide essential services, and our economy needs a stimulus to restart and recover. Proposition F will enable us to help small businesses who are struggling, unlock voter-approved childcare funding, balance our local budget, and create jobs. And that is why I think we must say yes on F.
Thank you both for your comments and your time. We hope that this discussion has been informative. For more information on this and other ballot measures in this year's election, please visit the San Francisco Elections website at sfelections.org. This year, all registered voters in California will be mailed a vote-by-mail ballot starting on October 5th. If you plan to return your ballot by mail, your ballot return envelope must be postmarked by Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. Alternatively, you may drop off your vote-by-mail ballot in person starting October 5th at the City Hall Voting Center located outside of Bill Graham Civic Auditorium, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. through 5 p.m. You can also drop off your ballot at the City Hall Voting Center on the 2 weekends before Election Day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And if you don't vote early, make sure to vote in person at one of the 588 polling locations across the city or at City Hall on Tuesday, November 3rd.